You are in the Power Zone now with DU. DU's Power Zone.
The Power Zone with DU is dedicated to bringing you insightful communication and resources that will guide you further in making your personal and professional goals a reality. Through candid, stimulating, and essential conversations, we focus on the 9 universal goals of success, which include career, finances, education, family, arts, attitude, health and wellness, leisure, and public service. Based upon these goals, we provide you, the listener, with practical measures of advancement.
Welcome family. You are in the Power Zone with DU. Again, you are in the Power Zone with DU. I am your host, Darlene A. Anderson, founder of Darlene's Utopia and author of Not Without a Fight, 10 Ways to Win When It Appears as If You've Already Lost. And you have entered the Power Zone. Today is June the 10th, and we have a spectacular show lined up for you on this evening. I am very excited about our guests. As you guys know, I'm always excited about our guests because we bring you the very best of the best. We get presenters, speakers, authors, professionals that provide insightful and resourceful information to help you elevate to your highest level of potential personally and professionally. And then once you have succeeded in that mission, we hope that you pass it on to your family, friends, and networks. Share the information that the Power Zone with DU is on. Now, if you are tuning in for the very first time, thank you. We welcome you, and we hope that you return to the Power Zone. And if you return to the Power Zone, well, you know we always look forward to you each and every weekend tuning in. Now, if this is your very first episode of the Power Zone with DU, we further invite you to log on to the Power Zone with DU at Blog Talk Radio and check out prior episodes and let us know what you think. We invite you to leave your comments at our page, inbox us, email us at info@Darlene's Utopia. We want to know what you think about the Power Zone and what we may bring to you in the upcoming weeks. We're going to go out on a small break, and when we return, I'm going to share a little information about our very special guest for this evening. We'll be right back after this break.
Homeowners residing in the New York State area, are you in need of assistance with a pending foreclosure? If you answered yes to this question, then DDR Consultants may be the assistance that you seek. DDR Consultants provides a variety of services to assist homeowners residing in the New York State area with mortgage foreclosures and documentation, inclusive of discoveries and interrogatories, as well as oppositions to the bank's motion. DDR Consultants also provide services in property management, inclusive of advertisement, leasing, and maintenance. For more information about foreclosures and property management, contact DDR Consultants at 914-309-5443.
Welcome back, family. I am your host, Darlene A. Anderson, founder of Darlene's Utopia and author of Not Without a Fight, 10 Ways to Win When It Appears as If You've Already Lost, and you've returned to the Power Zone with DU. Now, as I stated earlier on in the month of June, we would be bringing you stories of extraordinary men within our communities and beyond that are making a difference. We're honoring men. We're showing projections of what it looks like to be an ideal strong man within your community, to be an ideal father, to be an ideal uncle, to be an ideal mentor. We are bringing strong men to the forefront and acknowledging them and paying respect to them for their day-to-day lives, personally and professionally. That being stated, we're doing that for the entire month of June. And I'm excited to have a very special guest that I had the pleasure of meeting last year at a Toastmasters meeting. Shout out to my Blackbirds, Long Island University, the Brooklyn chapter, downtown Brooklyn. I had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman that I'm going to speak to in a second. And what I admired about him, what captured me about him, is his speaking ability. He is by far one of the best public speakers that I have ever encountered, and that may be someone that I've met in person or even someone that I aspire to be like that I've never met before as it relates to celebrities. This gentleman is awesome, and I had to have him on the show so you all can experience what I experienced just the same. So I'll share a little bit about who exactly I am referencing. Mr. Marc Williams. Marc Williams is a high-powered, energetic, motivational speaker, leadership development trainer, and executive speech coach. A Brooklyn native, Marc was raised in East New York. This son of a poor single mother was exposed to hardship and horror, but emerged in life, not as a statistic, but as an exception to the rule. Rising from a childhood of struggle, he graduated from one of the country's best high schools, earned his bachelor's and master's degree from New York University, and advanced from the ranks of classroom teacher to a school administrator. This once shy kid who tried to bottle up the pains of his past was invited to deliver his very first keynote to a group of young males who were in need of mentorship. That began the pursuit of his second career as a professional speaker. In 2011, he created Scripted Microphones, which became a platform for motivational blogs that would later become material for his first book. 3 years later, he renamed his company Marc Williams Speaks. Marc delivers motivational keynotes and seminars on leadership development and presentation skills. He also works with clients as an executive speech coach, and he has expanded his executive speech coaching into multi-session trainings called The Rules of Engagement for Students, Adults, and Corporations. Marc delivers talks at leadership conferences, educational institutions, and corporate events with various degrees and almost 20 years of experience in education, communication, and administration. Marc provides the motivation strategies audiences can use to become successful leaders and dynamic speakers. While he specializes in mentoring and speaking to young audiences, both students and young professionals, the content of his message is valuable and inspirational to audiences of all ages, professions, and interests. As the author of Beyond Limitations, From a Boy Without Promise to a Man I Am Today, Marc's mission is to inspire and share with others how to use his 8 steps to turn their challenges into victories. Ladies and gentlemen of the Power Zone, without further ado, I introduce to you Mr. Marc Williams, motivational speaker, author, speech coach, and educator. Marc, welcome to the Power Zone.
Thank you for having me, Darlene. It's a pleasure to be here on the Power Zone. I love the idea of empowering people.
Thank you. Your energy speaks for itself because you are a walking mass of empowerment. If you haven't, like, your bio doesn't do you justice. Your website, although it is amazing, this is one of the most amazing websites that I've seen by far in a very long time of doing business. But none of this speaks to who you are when you personally meet you. You are the epitome of empowerment. So thank you for joining us in this season. It's the season of Father's Day. We're honoring fathers for the month of June, and I definitely want to speak to the family man before we go into anything else. So please share about your awesome family, father of 3, married. Please share that with us on the Power Zone.
As Father's Day comes up, I couldn't tell you how much proud I am to be the father of 3 beautiful children. My wife and I produce this amazing family full of energy. You think I have energy? They have energy. They're my battery. They're my soul. They're the reason why I do everything I do. My oldest man, Jordan, who's 7, turning 8, is a basketball phenomenon, and not just in how he plays, but in just how he is so passionate about the things that he does. And my little girl, Sydney, she's my princess. She's the future CEO. She runs things, so she's power. And my little man, Dylan, is strong and tough just at 3 years old. So my 3 beautiful children, Jordan, Sydney, and Dylan, are the reason why I do everything I do, and I hope that everybody has a reason why they do what they do.
Oh, well said. Well said. Thank you. I just want to reiterate to our listeners, I had the pleasure of meeting Marc at Toastmasters a year ago, and I was blown away by your presentation. So we're going to speak to the motivational speaker, the author, the educator. We're going to get into all of that, but I really want to speak to who Marc is as a speech coach, because there's an art to it, and clearly you've mastered it.
Thank you. Thank you. I enjoy it. And I didn't think I would ever enjoy it. I mean, I definitely was the shy kid, and a lot of it has to do with what I was exposed to as a kid, and I think I really tried to shield and protect and bottle up a lot of things, and so I was a very quiet kid, but there was a point, really even in the 2nd grade, where I started to open up, but it was really when I became an educator and I had an opportunity to speak to a group of kids where I really opened up and really embraced this idea of telling my story and using it to motivate people. And I thank you for observing this passion that I have.
Definitely. And you, having been born and raised in Brooklyn and in East New York as well, correct?
Yeah, actually I was born in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and then I moved to East New York, Brooklyn. We moved to East New York, Brooklyn. I was probably about 3 or 4 years old at the time, and I spent my formative years in East New York, Brooklyn, on Linden Boulevard and Elders Lane.
Exactly. And I, too, am from East New York, not too far from where you grew up at. So my fellow East New Yorker. It's a lot.
Proud of it.
Yes. I just had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago of orientating some youth workers as it relates to them getting jobs for the summer. And it's a lot to deal with because these youth are dealing with a culture in itself within their communities, as well as trying to go out and begin branding themselves, getting the skills that they need to then catapult out of those communities. It's extremely hard. It's survival of the fittest, and that's just inner city living altogether. But it's a different life in East New York. East New York is a different life in itself.
Yes. I haven't lived in East New York for the longest time. It's still in my heart and soul, but I can only imagine that as time has progressed, that it has probably become much more difficult. But as tough as it is to find work, to find opportunities to educate and enlighten yourself, it is so critically important. I had one job growing up in East New York, and it was through the summer youth program. It was a teaching job. Coincidentally, teaching small children, and that's where I got that bug for teaching. But it was also that really first opportunity to have a quote-unquote real job, and it was so important. And even though this isn't job-related, I do want to share, because I write about it in my book, how important it is, or how important it was for me to actually go away to sleepaway camp. And I know not everybody can do that. Some people have their summer programs or their day camps, but it was an opportunity to get me out of the day-to-day routine, especially during the summer, and to do something constructive and positive. And there were so many things that I learned and so many things that I was exposed to. So even if at the end of the day it's not a job to pay something, there's a bigger payoff from doing something productive and constructive with your time.
Correct. It's just a new generation right now. You mentioned sleepaway camp. That's not even an option to the vast majority of youth anymore, but it is very rewarding. You learn life skills going a way that you would not have acquired if you just stay and go to regular summer camp. So I definitely say that's an old activity that we definitely need to promote more and more in today's inner city youth.
Yeah.
We already kind of went into talking about the Educator. So you shared where you got your first bug of educating, and that's led you to presently being the assistant principal at a very renowned, known high school here in New York City, in Brooklyn specifically, and you're the AP of the English department, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Please share.
So, first of all, it's at my old high school, and I have to put that out there. I'm so proud of the fact that I've become an assistant principal, especially of English. And there's a couple of reasons why. One, like just every other type of job, I started out at that quote-unquote entry level as a teacher, teaching whatever classes they gave to me. But there was an opportunity that came along after my first few months to be in charge of student activities. And everyone told me not to do it. And they told me not to do it because it was too much work. It was more work than you were going to get paid for. And I didn't listen to anyone, and I took on this job. And I have to tell you, I did this job for about the first 15 years of my career. And I'll tell you why it was so critically important. Because it took me not out of the classroom, but it gave me an additional opportunity to inspire and influence kids in another way, and to teach the leadership development skills and social skills to a group of kids who just blossomed from that particular opportunity. And because I took on an opportunity that definitely took up more time than I was going to get paid for, but gave me joy exponentially, it also taught me leadership skills that eventually opened up the eyes of the assistant principals and the principal at that time. And I believe it's because of that work and my willingness to do that work that I eventually became the assistant principal. I was offered that job because of the work that I put in, and I learned so much. So becoming an assistant principal to me has been amazing because of the opportunity it's awarded me to help children, and because it helps me to set an example. I think that's so important, Darlene, in our society. It gave me the opportunity to be an example and a model for other children.
Definitely. Well said, and thank you. Thank you for your passion, because it's definitely needed in this day and age. And you're educating out of Brooklyn Technical High School, correct?
That's correct.
Beautiful. And I just want to say, I have so many colleagues that are going back and providing services in tech and are graduates of tech. And this is just for some of our listeners on the call that have some children in middle school or elementary school that are considering going to specialized schools. It's possible. It's been a shift, but it's safe to say that in the beginning, there were a large majority of children of color that went to Brooklyn Technical High School, correct?
That is correct. That is correct. When I went there was probably about 20% African American. I don't know what the percentage of Latino students was at the time when I was at Tech, but it was high. It was very high.
Now it isn't. And parents, allow your children to take those tests. Don't limit them in applying for high schools. Next year, to my understanding, the high school selection has passed and children now know where they will be assigned to for September. But for 2016, 2017, allow your children to apply for these specialized schools because there is greatness within them, and Marc is on the call speaking to that today. So I really want to just acknowledge the fact that tech has greatness coming out of it as far as inner city youth specifically.
Yes, and let me say this to the parents who are listening. Two things. One, yes, the test has passed and the results are in for this coming year. But one, for those who have students who are going into the 7th and 8th grade, start thinking about that test that's coming up in October and November. Get your kids prepared. get them taking a look at these prep books. There's stuff online. There's stuff for free. Sit in a Barnes & Nobles and just flip through the books. And for any parent who has a child who is now in the 9th grade and going to a different school, guess what? When I took that test the first time, I did not get in. I was in the 9th grade in another school, and I took that test again, and I got in. So there is another opportunity. All hope is not lost, right? But I want to say this. Even if your child does not get into a specialized high school, there are still skills that can be developed, and there are programs out there. Make sure that your kids are surrounded by like-minded kids who want to do great things, and find programs even outside of your school that offer them the opportunity, once again, to be around kids who have an elevated mind and a motivated mind.
Well said. Thank you so much, Marc. And I guess this also ties into who you are as you work specifically with youth and skills development?
Yes, that's correct.
Can we speak to that program specifically?
Absolutely. So the most important skill development that I love to teach goes back to my passion for public speaking. And the reason why I love teaching public speaking, especially to the youth, is because one of the most important things that public speaking gives to anyone, young or old, is confidence. And that is the one thing that I think most people battle with the most. And I feel that confidence really is empowerment. Think about a lot of the things that as teenagers, as children, we've dealt with that I'm sure that our own children are dealing with. Decisions that you make or are afraid to make, standing up for yourself. A lot of that goes back to that confidence. And I can tell you, once again, being that shy kid, the moment I felt confident enough to stand up in front of an audience of people and speak my mind and speak what I understood to be true, I felt empowered. And most importantly, when I was able to say something that gave someone else knowledge and in a sense gave someone else power, I felt empowered. So I love doing the public speaking workshop in particular for young kids because it builds their confidence. Even if they don't become world champion speakers, they will become world champion confident.
Well said. And you're 100% right. There is an empowering feeling that actually overcomes the fear, because the fear never goes away. Everyone in that moment of speaking, Oprah has said it, Steve Harvey has said it, Joel Osteen has said it, Steve Jobs has said it. Everyone says that there's something that never goes away, like that butterfly feeling when you're about to go and speak, but then it's still so liberating and empowering. There's nothing else that you would be doing outside of that in that moment. So well said. How are the youth in receiving that? What are you seeing are some of the advantages and disadvantages
of the workshop itself?
Yes.
Okay, so the advantages that I've seen are, once again, kids picking up just skills that they can use, not necessarily because they're going to get up in front of an audience or run for an office, but I think of one particular kid that I worked with most recently. The first time he showed up for the very first workshop, he sat in a corner with a book that he was reading, and he was to himself and he was quiet. And I remember our very last session, he blossomed. He was joking around with people. He had a prepared speech. He felt much more confident. So the advantage has been seeing the growth. And when I run the workshop, I love to talk to them, especially I love to take advantage of the fact that I'm an English teacher. So I talk to them about how important it is to present ourselves through language. People make a lot of judgments about us based on the way that we speak.
Marc, can you say that again? Because I just spoke to a room of adolescents about this yesterday. Can you please repeat what you just said?
Yes. People judge us based on how we speak and the language that we use. And so it's very important to take our language seriously and to construct our language strategically, because our language is our brand. What we say is who we are. right? And it's a very empowering thing when we learn how to speak in a way, not that we have to learn how to speak like someone else, but we have to learn to speak positively and powerfully and strategically. We need to think about that. We need to think about our brand.
Correct. From the moment that you're meeting someone, and I had the opportunity of speaking to the summer youth teenagers about this, like their first day we were speaking about job etiquette, and how you show up determines how the remainder of your summer will be. How you show up, your etiquette, your job etiquette. The littlest thing is saying synced instead of seen. And it's not to pass judgment at all. It's just to say that the environment in which we live in which we're engaged in for a vast majority of our days, this is what we're hearing. This is what is coming into our internal consciousness. So we're going out and we're now saying synced as if it's like a language when it's seen. It's so many different elements of this. And as an English teacher or English educator, I'm sure that this is something you're going through on a continuum with some of your youth.
Well, I think youth have listen, every generation has had their youth speak, and every culture has their particular type of language. But once again, we have to remember we're in a global world, and the way we speak among our youthful friends, it may be okay in that particular arena, but we have to know that there's a larger arena, and we want to take advantage of that larger arena. We want to be successful, not just in our own circle, but beyond our circle, and it goes back to language. That's the connecting theme. That's the connecting empowerment piece in this global network, and it's language. So that's one of the biggest advantages of the program, really emphasizing how important it is to craft your language.
And I guess that would be not necessarily a disadvantage, but an ongoing factor, something that's ongoing as an intervention within the youth.
Yes, and that's why a lot of times in my workshop, I like to take opportunities. Listen, I have a particular program and a particular lesson plan, just like when I go on my own class in the school. I have a particular lesson plan, but I'm always looking for those opportunities when a child may say something, one of our youth may say something that I feel that I need to correct it. There's teachable moments all the time. Sometimes we can't predict them, but we have to, find them and latch onto them real quick and correct and help. I won't even say correct, but to construct. You asked me about the disadvantages of the program. I would say the disadvantage of the program is there are two things. One, I generally like to do a program with just 15 kids. Just because the larger the group, the greater the chance to lose attention. So I like to really hone in on a small number of groups. I call that only a disadvantage because obviously our goal is always to impact as many people as possible. So I want to be able to eventually expand it so that I can get other public speakers and coaches out there to really, take this program and to do it elsewhere. McDonald's expands, all kinds of franchises expand. I think we need to expand the empowerment and do it that way. And then I would say the other disadvantage is that, listen, right now I do an 8-week program, and I think like anything else, you need that constant. You can't just work on a skill for, 8 weeks or 3 hours or 3 months. You have to have the discipline to keep at it. And I would love to see kids to continue at it. The great thing about Toastmasters is it's really a multi-year program. It's a lifetime commitment if you really make it. So I would love to see the kids make that lifetime commitment to the skill that I'm trying to teach them.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's an honor to have an educator like you within New York City because, again, it's desperately needed. So thank you for sharing and much continued success in your efforts. It's not even an effort, it's what you do. It's what you do as an educator. So continued success to you on that journey. Now, time flies. You're very much welcome when you're having fun. We have to go out on the song of the show, and when we come back, we're going to speak to the author and the motivational speaker specifically. But while we have you here, we definitely want to know what song inspires you and why.
the song that inspires me, the song that gets me fired up, is the song "Lose Yourself" by Eminem. That song, I think the music and the production behind it is powerful enough just as a musical selection. But I also think it's really the message behind it, right? And it's the message of struggle. And I think that we don't empower struggle as much as struggle needs to be empowered. Everyone that we celebrate in our society who's successful, rich, and famous, we celebrate the end result, but we don't celebrate the struggle. And that song is about the struggle and getting through the struggle and being successful after the struggle. And that's why it fires me up. Anytime I feel down, that song picks me up. And that's what we should do with any song that inspires anybody. But that's my song, "Lose Yourself," Eminem.
I love it, and that's one of my favorites. Enough said, let's go out on Lose Yourself.
Power Zone family, have you heard the news about Utopia Network, Inc.? Utopia Network, Inc. is a New York-based 501c3 nonprofit organization. Their mission is to connect individuals and families with services that will promote stability and a better quality of life. They are committed to ensuring that the underserved communities have an understanding of the tremendous opportunities of productivity in their adversities and move to actions of advancement. To learn more about Utopia Network, Inc., visit them at their Facebook fan page, Utopia Network, Inc. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you tried, no matter how often you tried, you can't win, for always losing? Marriage, relationships, children, family, finances, work, the list goes on and on. You can't seem to ever get it right and are often left with that lingering feeling of doubt, wondering, why should I even attempt any further? If you have experienced these feelings, this book is for you. Not Without a Fight, 10 Ways to Win When It Appears As If You've Already Lost delivers transparency, resilience, strength, and practical measures that will encourage you to stay in the ring and fight for a few more rounds. You will feel rejuvenated and encouraged to continue as you affirm your winning moments are a breath away. As you read this book and reflect on your challenges in life, it is my hope that you will begin to incorporate the principles of winning into your daily regimen. You may feel beaten thus far. However, know from this moment forward, you are a winner. Say it, see it, believe it, be it. Order your copy of Not Without a Fight, 10 Ways to Win When It Appears As If You've Already Lost at darlenesutopia.com.
Welcome back, family. I am your host, Darlene A. Anderson, founder of Darlene's Utopia and author of Not Without a Fight, 10 Ways to Win When It Appears As If You've Already Lost. And you are in the Power Zone with DU with our very special guest, Marc Williams, author of Beyond Limitations. Family, if you're on the website right now, if you're on the Power Zone with DU, I invite you to click on to MarcWilliamsSpeaks.com. Again, that's Marc with a C, WilliamsSpeaks.com. Or if you want to just log right onto the page, you can. There you will find the book and some information about it. I want to just say, as a motivational speaker myself and author, when I go out, sometimes it's just not about me, because products sell themselves anyway. If it's meant for you to sell your book, you will. What I try to focus on is the theme, so to speak. Like if it's empowerment, I pull different things. And one of the things that I always bring with me is your hook. And I reference it, and I speak about it. And Marcia actually, of Long Island University's Toastmaster chapter, can actually speak to that because we've been in several arenas together, and I've taken out Marc Williams' book, and I referenced this quote. And this quote, for me, as soon as you open up the book, it's like within the first couple of pages, speaks volumes to what life is as it relates to adversities and struggles and just moving forward. And if I may, the experienced mountain climber is not intimidated by a mountain. He is inspired by it. The persistent winner is not discouraged by a problem. He is challenged by it. Mountains are created to be conquered. Adversities are designed to be defeated. Problems are sent to be solved. And that's by Mr. William Arthur Ward. I love that you utilized this reference in your book. Can you speak to that?
That quote is the embodiment of my philosophy about life. We all go through a struggle. We've all got something that sometimes we feel holds us down. And when we are down at our most, even though we have all these dreams and all these aspirations and we want to change our life, sometimes we can get defeated. I love that quote because it teaches us that the struggle is a part of the success. And I love that quote because it's really all about the mentality. And our most powerful tool in everything we want to do is the power of our mentality. We're talking about empowerment. Having an empowered mentality will get you through anything. And it's not about life is going to be full of roses and it's a guarantee, but it's that pick-me-up. It's just like we were talking before about lose yourself in M&M. It's the language that we speak to ourselves that picks us up. Everybody has a struggle. Everyone. And everyone can get through that struggle. And that's why that quote is so important about my book. The book itself, in a nutshell, is about taking the challenges that we have in life and turning them into victories. And I love the fact, by the way, that you refer to your audience as family. On the cover of my book is my mother. I'm the world champion of mother's boys, of mama's boys. I believe so much in family, and my family was so instrumental and so much of the success that I've achieved in life. And I think that's very important. So I'm very empowered and very happy to hear you refer to your audience as family because we're in this together. We have to take care of each other.
Correct. Thank you so much. Well said. I was listening to Joel Austin this past Sunday, and whether you're spiritual, Christian, Muslim, there is something to be said about why struggles are brought our way, why we deal with adversities. And the universe, even if you're not Christian, let's just say the universe, it's setting you up for your next level of greatness. You just have to believe that there is something beyond that moment that is designed for you. You will have your moment. You just have to push. I always say that the hardest thing is execution and implementation. It hurts. It's not comfortable. You will feel as if you don't want to go anymore. But there is a beauty to conquering that you thought could not be conquered. And that's what I enjoy because you speak a lot about struggle and overcoming some of those things. And Joel also speaks to that just to say, believe that these things are designed. It's helping you to then be a greater warrior than what you are now. But if you're defeated, you'll never know.
Yes, listen, the struggle is a strength builder. That's why we have struggles. Just like people go to the gym, right? They don't lift weights that are easy to lift. They lift weights that are difficult to lift. They give themselves a struggle. They give themselves a challenge. Why? Because that's the only way to become stronger. And so I talk about my book, Embrace the Struggle, right? And empower the fear, right? We need to embrace the struggle because struggle is empowerment. It's giving us the strength to do something. And I always think about in life, whatever I got through, there's something you got through before. And there's a strength that is built. I love listening to Joel Osteen as well. I remember hearing a lot of different things that he's talked about before. And I absolutely agree that sometimes we think we don't have the strength to do something. And maybe It's because we haven't met a struggle yet to build that strength. But we all have the potential. We just have to find that nugget. It's a golden nugget within us that we just have to find. And listen, just like gold, you have to dig, you have to challenge, you have to pound the dirt and the ground to get through it, right? It's just not given to us. We have to fight for it. Everything we want, we have to fight for it. So by definition, life is a struggle, and it's meant to be a struggle because struggle is strength, and the only way to get to success is to get through the struggle. So embrace the struggle because it's supposed to be there.
Struggle is strength.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well said. I love that. Struggle is strength. Let's speak to the motivational speaker.
Mm-hmm. This is how it all began for me. I was in school one night, and I got a call from my assistant principal of guidance. She was working on a project. She had identified the 64 young black men, the only 64 young black men who are in the 12th grade at my school. Understand that there are 1,200 kids in the 12th grade at that time, and only 64 of them were young black men. Mixed academic levels, and she wanted to start a program of those who were struggling and those who were succeeding and put them together and empower all of them. Well, she invited a guest speaker, and about 2 days prior, he canceled. And she called me and she asked me if I could speak to them. And my first response was, I don't know, what could I possibly say? And she said, Marc, you're a role model. And I was very uncomfortable with that word role model. I didn't really think, well, what have I done, right? But I said yes. I felt it was a duty to say yes. And I tell you, darling, what I thought about as I was preparing what to say was, well, if I am a role model, if I'm a so-called role model, what have I done? What has happened in my life that has brought me to this point? Right? And I always ask people, what got you here? So what got me here? And I actually came up with about 8 or 9 different things. And that became the speech. By the way, those 8 or 9 things eventually became the book Beyond Limitations. And so I had the opportunity to speak to those 64 young men for about an hour that night, and that motivated me to become a motivational speaker.
That's an awesome story. Sometimes we're just pushed into things that we don't even know will be our next level of greatness. But when it's done, again, it's like, wow, you were born for it. And you're an amazing motivational speaker. And just to say, if you're looking for a speaker, again, family, log on to Marc Williams Speaks, and there you will see clips of Marc in action, and you can inquire about his services for adolescents or adults, because you also do speaking with the adult population as well, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody needs empowerment, from the young to the old to the middle to everyone.
Beautiful. And while we're talking about the adults, you also provide a service as it relates to program development.
Yes, yes. I do a lot of leadership development and, once again, public speaking development and skills training for adults. I've done a number of them. I'm just saying recently when I was out speaking to a group of adults. And I'm trying to also get into the corporate level as well. There's so many people who need this skill. They say that, we've talked about it before in terms of what Oprah said, and so many people have talked about in terms of this fear, and so many people later in life understand how important it is to have this skill of public speaking and also have leadership skills. And we don't always get an arena to learn those things, right? Even in the schools, we're teaching academic skills, and those are so important. But a lot of times we don't necessarily get to teach leadership, and that's probably one of the most important lessons, and as they call them, executive functioning skills. All of these different skills are not necessarily taught in the school building, and they're not always taught at home, and to no one's fault. It's just something that's not taught, but something we expect everyone to have. So I think it's very important for our youth to teach it, and I think it's very important for our adults who are starting to learn how important it is, because they want to move up and elevate in their own careers, in their own personal lives. So I'd love to teach those skills to them as well.
Now, are you providing services? Do you have a vast majority of entrepreneurs? Because a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs and small business owners. Do you get inquiries as per this population specifically?
I am still working on that. I've become so known for working with the youth that I'm now branching out to corporate. Actually, very recently from a public speaking workshop that I just did, I made a connection with a company that wants to bring me out once they figure out exactly what their needs are and how I can meet their needs. So I'm very much looking to network and to work with entrepreneurs and business owners to bring what I have of value to add to their work. So I'm always looking to expand this network.
Well said. And it's desperately needed as it relates to entrepreneurs and small business owners and 30-second pitches or really clearly speaking to your products and services. I love the way you do it. You do it. It's strong, yet it's elegant. It's also soft in a way. I love the way you storytell with your own history as it relates to some things in Beyond Limitations, and then you pretty much drive it home. He drives it home, family, because I was midway through, I knew I was going to purchase a book. I knew that I was going to purchase a book midway through. And it's needed because sometimes we come out and we speak, but the bottom line is either we're networking, we're getting information for prospective clientele, or we're selling our products and or services. So I think it's important that people know key to speaking, and that's why I appreciate what Toastmasters provides. Again, where I met you first.
Yes, yes. It's an amazing organization. I always encourage people to join it, whether they feel confident about their speaking or not. And even if they feel confident about their speaking, that's one of the things that has helped me too, is there are so many lessons to learn to further develop. And that's something else that I always want people to know, that there is still room for further. There's always, we need to be eternal learners. And so I just want to give people, whether it's through my book and my services or services that I know about and books that I know about, I want to open up everyone's eyes and minds and doors and windows to all the opportunities that are out there. We've talked about empowerment. This is empowerment, the learning, the knowledge, and I'm going to come back to the public speaking because of that language. That language is empowerment.
Yes, definitely. Family, if you log on to Marc Williams' website, Marc Williams Speaks, again, that's MarcWilliamsSpeaks.com, there you will find Marc has a blog as well as his calendar. You can purchase his book online, check out some of his prior speaking engagements, photos and videos, inquire about booking Marc as a speaker and or maybe some consultations as it relates to your own speaking abilities. There is a slew of information on Marc's site. I love this site, by the way, Marc. It's very inviting, as I said earlier on the show. This is an amazing website. It speaks to who you are.
Thank you. Thank you. We put a lot of work into it, and that's very important. We have to put a lot of work into everything, and we have to be passionate about what we're doing. You know, I've made a commitment. I love what I do in the classroom. I'm passionate enough to take what I do in the classroom and aspire how I can expand the classroom. But yeah, so much of that comes from passion, and that's what I love to tell to the family out there listening. Find your passion and then find a way to strengthen that passion to make it work for you. A lot of times we think, oh, I just have something that I love to do. And here's my message to everybody who has something that they love to do. There is a way to take what you love to do and make it work for you. We just have to figure out who did it already and learn from them and then refine it so that it works for us. But you could take what you love to do and make it work for you. We need to put that on the shirt, Darlene.
Well, take what you do and make it work for you. I love it. Take what you do and make it work for you. Yes, family. Coming for 2015, the summer of 2015. Well said. I also want to acknowledge that, and I love when we're providing free information. You can always tell the integrity, the quality of someone by the amount of information that's provided for free. You're providing free information on your site. Your blog topics, I adore. The rules of engagement, Toastmasters news, and other things. Let's speak to the rules of engagement.
Okay. So the rules of engagement are, as I call them, the 10 rules to rule the stage, right? I always talk about having stage power. Content and what you want to talk about is so important. But the truth is, especially in this day and age where our ability to hold our own attention is dropping. I read the other day that the average attention span was about 12 minutes about a decade ago. Now it's only about 5 minutes. And I read that we only have about 8 seconds when we open our mouth to catch someone's attention. And if we can do that, then we can hold them for the rest of the 5 minutes. It's become so critical. And I believe that so many of us have a message and a lesson to teach. But if everyone falls asleep, if everyone takes out their phone, if everyone gets distracted, if everyone daydreams, then it doesn't matter how powerful your message is. So we have to find a way to deliver it in a way that is engaging and that gets people to say, you've got to listen to Darlene. The way she speaks, it's amazing. We need to develop that skill. And so that's why I developed the 10 rules to rule the stage, the rules of engagement. And they're all not just about delivery, they are about also constructing a speech. So once again, I always talk about it from the perspective of being a public speaker, but also from the perspective of being an English teacher and marrying those two things together, the delivery and the content. But it's so important to engage. And one of the reasons that I started the blog is, yes, I have the 10 rules, but a lot of the blogs that I create are really beyond those rules. I love the word beyond, right? I love the word beyond limitations, right? And so a lot of those blogs are beyond those rules because they come from different things that I've come across that are also very important lessons. And yes, the rules of engagement will be a book at some point, but for right now, yes, I want to be able to give the free tips away and the free information away because at the end of the day, it's more important for me to build someone else's worth. That's what we need to do for each other. We need to build everyone's worth. So I'm happy to do that. I post my tweets up there because I also like to, in addition to giving the rules of engagement to help people speak better, I love to include my tweets because my tweets are just motivational fuel for the mind. I talk about it all the time. When we have cars, we put gas in. If you don't put gas in your car, it doesn't move. The language we speak, the positive affirmations that we get, whether it be from my book or Joel Osteen, whomever, right? From a power zone, right? All of these powerful messages, we need to feed that into our minds to keep us going. So I'm happy to put all of that information out there. That's why I'm here. But once again, as far as the 10 rules to rule the stage power, as I call it, the rules of engagement, I encourage everybody to look at that and once again to build their speaking skill and to build their language. We want people to pay attention to us because we have something to say, and when we develop this public speaking skill, it will advance us so much. Take a look at the president, right? I tell people this story all the time. Barack Obama was a horrible speaker way before he ever stepped on stage for that now famous Democratic convention. But when he opened his mouth, a huge reason, and I'm not going to get into the political views right now, I'm just going to get into the fact that when he opened his mouth, people listened. It was the way he delivered his message that had people follow. We talk about the story of the Pied Piper. That's what this skill does. He's in his position not just because of what he said, but because of the way he said it. And if you think about all of the great leaders and the great presidents and the most celebrated leaders in society, they're people who are empowered by this power of public speaking. Empower yourself, family, with this power of public speaking. 10 rules of the 10 rules to rule the stage, the rules of engagement will empower everyone. You just have to follow the rules.
I'm empowered. Family, are you empowered on the call? Log on to MarcWilliamsSpeaks.com and check out the blog of the rules of engagement. Marc, this is awesome. And of course, time flies when you're having great conversation. I want to ensure that I covered everything as it relates to the motivational speaker, the author, the educator, and the speech coach. Again, family, if you're interested in purchasing Beyond Limitations, you can go to Marc's site again at Marc Williams Speaks. And Marc, are we providing autograph copies? as well?
Yes. If you order my book through my website, I will send you an autographed copy. There are other places where you can get a copy, Amazon.com and BarnesNoble.com, but if you order it directly through my website, I will absolutely send you an autographed copy.
And you all want your copy autographed as I had mine. So we definitely want you to go to the site and order it directly at MarcWilliamsSpeaks.com so you can get your autographed copy to inspire you further, because something is in the text. We can just read something, open up a book, and something is written, and it'll catapult us to the next level of greatness. So get your autographed copies from Marc and be empowered further. Marc, it's been a pleasure. I can't believe again how time flies. I wish you well for this season as it relates to Father's Day, and not just honoring dads for one day, but throughout the entire year, because there are positive men making a difference in their families as well as the communities and preparing tomorrow's leaders as well. So congratulations to you in that, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. Empowerment to everyone who's listening, and empowerment to you, and empowerment to all those fathers out there, because everyone has the potential to be an amazing father and a role model to our children.
Well said, sir. Family, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us on the Power Zone with DU. We will continue to bring you insightful and resourceful conversation every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Log on to the website to check out our guests for next week. Until that time, be well, family.